or 781-826, and let's talk real estate. And good morning to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Didn't even sound like me right there, but good morning. Sorry about the replay last week. I was feeling under the weather suddenly, 2 minutes before the show, and Melissa's like, "I'm your show," and leaving me here. I'm sorry about that. Well, we're here this week, and that is about multiple offers and what really happens behind the scenes. It's a really good week for me to be talking about this. I mean, we had a few new things come on this week, the past couple of weeks, and they've all had multiple offers. Melissa will be able to discuss to some of the agents in the office and how they had multiple offers as well, and how we handle everything. And as we're speaking, I'm literally going into MLS because one of our new listings that just came on the market this week came on Wednesday, 52 Parkway, beautiful, beautiful home that I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, coming on the market. Wonderful clients of ours. We adore them. And they tell us they adore us too. So it's mutual.
It's a mutual love.
Yeah, it really is. And they're thankful like that they are friends, and they have a milestone journey, and it's really exciting for them. And we're part of this next chapter, which makes it even more special for us. So, but yeah, we put on the market Wednesday. We had an open house yesterday. Mary and I are doing this one together, and it went, we had an open house on Friday, had some showings, ended up with multiple offer situation last night, and opted to cancel our open house on Sunday. I know I hate to disappoint people with that, because I know that people were probably like, "Oh, I can't wait to see that house on Sunday." Sometimes this happens in our world, and our job is to do what's best for our client, and this seemed to have been best for them. Good morning, Melissa.
I just whacked my microphone. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, I know it's interesting because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago of like when somebody asks, "Oh, how's the market?" Well, it's crazy. It's a little crazy right now. Definitely in the swing of spring, and now we're going into summer market. Sometimes summer is a little bit slower, but I do not think that that's going to happen this year. And like you said, I see everything that's going on here with all of the agents in the office, and everything that we've put on in the past couple of weeks has gotten multiple offers. And, most of those have gone through their open houses, but when you get something you can't say no to, you don't make it there.
And that's one of the things I do want to discuss is, I do want to discuss this whole thing about multiple offers, and it isn't always necessarily the highest offer. So, and some of the things that I've been looking at, and when I'm going to let you chat for a second, and I'm going to grab my binder of offers that we have with these, few houses that we've, put under agreement. And it isn't, I assure you, what our goal is today is to help maybe sellers understand, what it feels like to have multiple offers. This is never about putting too much pressure on people to make a rapid decision. I like to slow down the pace. As everybody knows, my favorite line and motto is, I cannot buy a pair of shoes on Zappos in 15 minutes. I don't expect anybody to buy a house in 15 minutes. Let's just make that clear. And then for the buyers, even though I am a very, very strong listing agent. Of course, I'm a strong buyer's agent too, but I tend to be more on the listing side of things with my team. I hate to see this feeling with the buyers, and it is very, very reminiscent for me of 2004 and what that rapid pace felt like. And honestly, my heart bleeds for the buyers.
Yeah, I am not envious at all. And I get the question a lot, aren't you so glad you have me? Yeah, we are going to make my house work. Whatever it is, as I can, I'm going to make my house work. I'm not envious. I'm actually sad. I feel so bad. And I don't want to discourage anybody from going out there and buying. It's always a great time to buy if it's the right time for you. And we always say that. It's just the fact and there's so many buyers. That's what's sad about it. And we can't gauge emotional value. So somebody who can come in at the top of what they can afford, and somebody comes right behind them and has more of an emotional value gauge or range that's higher than them, we can't gauge that. And that's what's disappointing. The thing that helped me during my journey with the multiple offers that I put in, even though I was upset about all of them.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
getting
but you
accepted.
did. You were ready and you didn't. So I think that's what we should be telling buyers too.
I was ready to give up, but I didn't want to, because ultimately my goal was to own a home, and I knew it was going to get there. It was just going to be a little bit longer than I had hoped. But something that kept me going was, sometimes I could else. They came in with something that was just I go in and do the best that I can, and I just move on. But you know what? When I found the next house, I forgot about the other ones. So I wasn't upset about the other ones, that you're dead to me.
Dead to me.
So, and now it's interesting because I'll drive around, and a lot of that process happened before I met my fiance. So sometimes when we'll drive around, I'll say, oh, I put an offer on that house, and, I'll tell him the story and everything. And I'm sort of glad that I didn't get it, because I feel like I would have outgrown it, because there was a part of my journey where I was single and I was just looking for myself and a starter home and, something to invest in. And I was looking for a person being able to live there. And I feel like I would have outgrown them with my 2 cats. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah, I'm grateful for that. So like I said, we're gonna make my house work now. But yeah, with the buyers, and I, like I said, I feel sad only because of this inventory and feeling like you have to sort of do the best that you can. But you know what? You should put your best foot forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can't. What is it? You can't score unless you shoot. That's a hockey thing. Can't score unless you shoot.
I'll ask him.
Yeah, shoot the puck, will you? You can't score unless you shoot the puck.
Yeah, profanity in my house than that, but yeah.
Well, we have the FCC listening to us right now, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are listening, again, we have Tim McKinney, by the way. Hello, Tim. I went right into things here. Good morning to you. And thank you so much for being able to, I have to say, I say every week, Tim truly is, he's my favorite over at WATD. No one else is listening right now, so they don't care.
They don't know.
But I have been with him for years. He has grown from a little boy into a young man into this young adult, right? Over the years, we've grown together, right? I mean, I was a whole lot cuter 20 years ago and big journey together. But last week I truly was sick. I mean, just so everyone knows, Melissa came in and I was laying on the floor.
Well, I was walking up the stairs and said, "Don't be alarmed. Yeah. I'm laying on the floor. I'm not dead."
Yeah, I just didn't want to scare
happening?
I didn't want to scare you. But Tim, you really you jumped into action quickly. I mean, it was minutes before our show actually started, and Tim was able to do a replay for us. So Tim, sending you love. I really appreciate you and all you do for us.
Yeah.
Is he there?
Oh, maybe he didn't hear.
Maybe he doesn't
have to hear the replay.
I love you too, Sharon. Sorry, I was across the hall.
There we go. I know that you said that you wanted to grab something, or did you?
Yeah,
grab it?
I am going to. But why don't you let our listeners know what the phone number is and how they can get in touch with us or text us and reach us?
Yeah, if you have any questions about multiple offers, what that means as a buyer or even as a seller in this market, you can give us a call or you can text the studio 781-837-4900. Again, 781-837-4900. We are live on all of our social media pages. I'm waving. I'm in the room alone right now, but I'm waving. Hello. So be sure to follow. Hello. Be sure to follow Boston Connect Real Estate and Sharon McNamara on your socials. So it's Instagram, Facebook. We're live on YouTube as well. So hello.
If you want to see our coming soon.
If you're coming soon, they have been blowing up. I don't know if we talked, well, not last week, but maybe 2 weeks ago we talked about our social media sort of has been blowing up again with the low inventory. When we have something that we're marketing as coming soon, it's just getting a little wild out there. So I've been having to get our agents to reply to people and making sure that everybody's on top of everything. Everyone's got the information that they're looking for. So I love that. But back to multiple offers. So I'm going to sort of set the stage for you guys. So, what does multiple offers actually mean? So, defining a multiple offer situation, it could just be two multiple offers. It's more than one. So anywhere from 2 to getting on a property. I think the most offers I've seen you got on one was like 44. You had gotten
that.
that was during COVID, but you had received 44 offers on a property. I think that's sort of
So if you
the limit to be.
if you think things are bad, they're not that bad yet.
Yeah, I think I said this too. There's this meme of like, oh, we wish that we had the 2-3% again, and then it's like, oh, let me remind you of what that was like. 44 offers on a house. Why this happens is low inventory or desirable price and location, and then strategic pricing. So we've gone over this multiple times on the show. She just guides you through how she got to the price or the price range that she gives you. Ultimately, it's your decision what you want to come on the market for. However, we got to be realistic.
And I think that that's really important to say too, because we love to divide our show so we can, sort of, play to the ears of both our clients who are buyers and to our clients that are sellers. And gone are the days of let's put it on the market for this and let somebody throw me an offer. I'm sorry to say it just doesn't work that way anymore. And we see time after time after time where people will want to put a house on the market over asking. And, it's different now. And I've said this in the past too, is, back in the day when we didn't have the internet the way that we have it, it was, you depended on your real estate agent to tell you what the prices were. You depended on your real estate agent to tell you where the list. Now people can go online, they can see it, but they're clearly saying, well, if this house, I'm just going to use a 3-bedroom cape, which is what I have, right? 3-bedroom cape sold for this amount. Why would I pay $100,000, $200,000 more? So sellers have to really be careful that you're not part of this whirlwind, by the way. Your sale price are being, what I like to say, artificially inflated due to the low inventory and multiple offer situation. It's that one unicorn in the room that wants that 3-bedroom cape that has the pool, that has the sauna, that has the garden, that has the 3-car garage. That unicorn is willing to pay for it. That's great for you. Okay, your price just got bumped up. Take that bumped up price. I always use 500, right? Let's say that a house is on the market for 500, and then the unicorn comes in and says, I'm going to pay $125,000 over asking. Yes, people, we are seeing that again. We'll pay $125,000 over asking. All right, so now that sale price is $625,000. Congratulations, other 3-bedroom capes. The value of your house is now $625,000 based on this unicorn. It isn't, oh, well, that house sold for $625,000 and they got $125,000 over asking, so my house must be worth $750,000.
Yeah.
It does not work that way. So stop thinking that way. And when we help, is to, I will not artificially give any false hope or false expectations. I use what the you stay in that range to attract the most buyers.
And I love that you just said that, the range and, looking at what has sold, because a lot of the times, when we do our coming soons, we're not putting the price out there because until the very last minute, that could change.
And it does often.
Because that unicorn could sell in between that time frame. And that has happened to you. I know that you, recently put on a couple listings that you were sort of like, okay, when the analysis ago, this was the range, or maybe even a couple weeks ago, this was the range. And then so many houses had sold but you were like, I think I want for more. The value has gone up even in that small time frame.
$25,000 on one of them. I mean, that's money.
Yeah.
You know, to me, what's so fun to me is, and I always say to people, like, hey, it's not my money to spend. It's not my money to, like, I was going offers last night and I was like, hey, you could go for this one that's higher, and we're going to get into that. Like, what are the details? But it's not my money at the end of the day to spend. But literally, when I tell you, like, my joy is doing my job of getting my clients the most amount of money with the best terms and condition and seeing how satisfied they are.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into what the listing agent's role is and responsibility for offers. So you always say your fiduciary responsibility as a listing agent is to your seller. Can you go through your process of, when you start to get these multiple offers, what are you doing with those?
Giving them to you. What do you mean?
So should I say what my process is?
So I give them to Melissa. And what we do is, and I pulled up one of the spreadsheets we have, is we take the offers, and I like to compare apples to apples and what is going to be the net to my seller, because that's always what's most important to the seller. And of course, with the changes from the NAR settlement in 2004, there's a big thing in there now. Like, now my clients are, they're compensating me through a listing agreement, but for the most part, buyer's agents are putting in their offer what they want to be looking at that number. Are you at 1%, 2%, 2.5%, 3%, 4%, whatever it is that you're asking for? I'm not saying that there is any normal, because there is not, people, but it's also not the obligation of a seller to have to pay a buyer's agent at all.
Yeah,
So
it's all negotiable.
it's all negotiable. And something happened last night where the buyer was willing to go up higher in order for us to compensate the buyer's agent what she was resting. So there are different ways of doing things. But once we put that, we have a cover sheet, and all the information that's inputted into that cover sheet is then, automatically goes over to this big spreadsheet. And I like to look at things after the fact. I'm obviously dissecting the offers afterwards too, but I like to sort of look at things just in columns. I don't know. That's how I like looking at MLS too when I'm looking at comps and comparisons. I don't really want to know who the agents are. I really don't want to see who the buyers' names are. That is not important to me. My job is to get the best terms and conditions for my clients, because multiple offers are not just about numbers. They're about the terms, the contingencies, the communication, the confidence I have in the other agent.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that happened just as a buyer's agent.
Well, definitely have your sellers, and also whether or not the offer was complete. I did print out your offer guidelines for one of your listings, and we can go through that a little bit too, because there are, like I said, you do have a fiduciary responsibility to your seller, and let's set the buyer's agents up for success. And that means going through, the availability for your listings and offer guidelines. So how people are going to submit their offers, what are the guidelines that are required for those documents, and also we let them know if this agent didn't approve forms, or
they're expired, or they're old. I mean,
Yes.
that's something you just caught last week, and that's what I'm so very lucky that I have you on my team. So too, fiduciary is who legally and ethically required to put another person's best interest ahead of their own. Just so you know. So Massachusetts is a fiduciary state, where states like Florida are not fiduciary states when it comes to real estate. So
Interesting.
Yeah, but you're really good about. First of all, I always say, in your next life, you should be a detective. You do a good job. And recently, a couple weeks ago, when we had the multiple offer situation in one of our Marshfield properties, one of the things you noticed is that the pre-approval letter was 90 days old. So things change.
And they change overnight too. I mean, and that is across the board. It doesn't necessarily just have to do with interest rates and what people can afford. Life changes. So if you're submitting an offer right now, okay, so it's almost for you from your
Because the rates went down, the rates went up.
Yeah.
And then if you had it when the rates went down, 1% could make a huge difference.
It could make a huge difference. In my 1.5-year journey, the buying power fluctuation that I had was, I thought I had whiplash. Okay. So from starting to ending, it was very different. So those are conversations that I was having with my loan officer throughout the whole process. It should be a conversation that all of you buyers are having during the process. But if I did notice, and I said, and not just because this offer was very strong, and was definitely a contender. Yeah, I will anyways. I'm pretty confident about that. But
I am too.
But get your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Make sure that you are being highlighted in the best light.
What I put on the bottom of the for everybody. So what I do is put the the offer instructions and showings like, hey, showing's going to start right away. And on the bottom of this, I write this because this is attached to MLS for buyers to get.
Yeah. It says, help me make your offer a success by submitting a complete package.
I mean, I can't make it any more clear for you that you need to have a complete package. And when I see these offers come in and they're sloppy and they're not 100% complete, it almost makes me want to throw it aside. Come on, if you're not paying attention now, the most important part of this process, when are you going to stop paying attention? When am I going to have to carry you through this whole thing? I don't mind doing a lot of work, but it's to me, and you know what? You know who I feel bad for?
Yeah.
Because what is going on in the mind is I have conversation with our agents all the time in the office is slow down, you move fast, you gotta make the morning right. So is slow down. You are a fiduciary, old car, right? You have to obedience, loyalty. What is it? I have them right here. Loyalty, disclosure, reasonable care, accounting, full and honesty, good faith. Your responsibility is to your buyer. But if you're not going to give a complete package, hello.
Well, a complete you had outlined here. So you give an offer deadline. You also ask that you allow 24 hours for a deadline response. Not everybody did that. Submit complete offer package in one PDF. Not everybody did that.
No.
So that's to help with the shuffle. Okay.
Yeah.
It's to help keep it all organized. When you know that you're going to be in a multiple offer situation as a buyer's agent or as a buyer, make sure that it's all together.
Well, and
you have it all together.
That's
please.
the other thing too. Is think about it. Hey, for the most part, I'm assuming that most of the people out there know who we are as a team at the point, but don't trust that the listing agent is going to be a chaos mess and lose some of your documents.
Yeah. And to Sharon, this is how she feels about an offer package being complete. So your agency disclosure, offer to purchase real estate, action disclosure, contingency, if applicable.
Yeah, it matters what form you're using. G-bar forms,
your pre-approval or proof of funds that is current. Oh my gosh, you put it in capitals. You put current in capitals.
I know.
And I'm looking at the camera because what did we just say? It wasn't current. And then property transfer lead notification, if applicable. So
any house built prior to 78. Yep. So, I mean, and that's the thing is my job, I think, as a strong listing agent is that I can make your job as a buyer's agent as easy as possible. I even put little checklists, a little box next to it, check them out as you're going. Right?
Yep. Not everybody looked.
Not everybody does it. I don't know why. So, hey. Yes. So, you were asking me, you put together all the offers and we get all the offers. And, we set a deadline because, I mean,
at some point it's got to stop.
Yeah. And not only that, it's just that at some point you have to sort of push the buyer's agents to get things to you on time, right? Hey, if you have another full-time job Monday through Friday doing something else or even a weekend, hey, I get it, whatever. But real estate should not be considered the part-time job, in my opinion. It's just way too serious. There's way too much money. It's people's biggest investment. It's the biggest purchase or sale they're going to be making. But don't please do not expect that you're going to be at your other job getting your bennies all in everything else, and then you're going to try calling me at 8 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
No, sorry, folks. Like, I'm not doing that. So that's why we like to put the deadline on there. So, hey, if we put a 2 o'clock, then they'll stop trickling in right around 5.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't been able to get to the property. Can I come and see it at 3? What?
Well, that happened. Yeah. That just happened a couple weeks ago.
I
And again,
know.
I know I'm sounding a little cranky right now, but I'm not really. I'll do anything I can to help you as a buyer's agent, but this happened a couple weeks ago that somebody came to my house. I like to leave Mondays more for agents who can't attend because they're doing their own open houses or they're doing whatever. On the weekend, they go and see the property before they put an offer in on it. And this other agent called me, really good guy, and seems like a very thorough agent, but he's like an hour and 45 minutes away. He's in Western Mass, and he's like, I can't get there till 3. I was like, well, my deadline is 2. I'm happy to sort of extend it for you under the circumstances, and I'm happy to do that. That's my job, by the way. I have
Yeah.
to bring in, all the offers I can for my clients. But I was just like, you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for you to drive. Let's throw some traffic in it. Maybe when I live 3 miles from this house, or my office is 3 miles from this house, so why don't I just meet your client down there? So I did. I spent over an hour with their clients down there, and ultimately they didn't put an offer in, so I saved him a lot of time. I told him he owes me one.
Yeah. Well, we found out that they ultimately did put in an offer on another property that was listed by an agent.
Did they do that? Yeah.
And that agent didn't see that property either. It's a fact that we sort of show that we share with our agent to just say, it's important to have representation when you see property. They ended up going to the house.
Well, you know what that agent told me is, and again, no one knows the person's name, so I don't feel as if I'm talking about anybody. I'm having a conversation of what my conversation was.
We're just talking real estate.
Yeah, we're talking real estate. But if you're looking for a buyer's agent, maybe this is one of the questions you're asking. These people are out bopping around, going to open houses. Like, I've met them twice. I'm not even sure how many times this guy has met them. And they're looking for houses on the South Shore. You're an hour and 45 minutes away. Let's say 2 hours with traffic, right? You're trying to manipulate your schedule. You're very busy. He made me very aware of that he's doing stuff. Again, good guy. But now you're telling me it was 2 houses. Boy, what he said to me was, well, for my clients that are at a certain price range, like the higher price range. Now, the house they went to look at with Faith had building was $950, right? So he's like, oh, I'm willing to, put offers and do that, for, higher priced homes. But the lower ones he refers out.
Oh, well.
Because I said to him when I was talking to him, in all honesty, I mean, he did sound like a great guy. And I was like, I just don't think it's in my wheelhouse to be an hour and 45 minutes. It's just not fair to my clients. So if I ever have clients that are going that way, I'm happy to send you some referrals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what he should be doing. But when I said that to him, I always keep my higher priced ones.
That is a crazy thing to say out loud.
I know, right? But if you're a buyer and you're interviewing buyer's agents, P.S., we've had shows on that. We highly recommend that. They should have a buyer presentation ready for you to explain the way that this works. You should ask them, like, hey, is it weird that you're an hour and 45 minutes away?
Yeah. But you know what? That buyer should be asking that question too. When you're asking your agent to drive 2 hours, perhaps it might be a conversation that you have of like, hey, do you know anybody in that area? It's different when it's like, an agent that's based in Pembroke and a list in Norwell, like different. You don't need to have an agent in a certain town in this area of this information.
And I just want to, as you're on that too, P.S., if you're out there and you're interviewing listing agents, and let's just say it's an agent in Norwell, and she says, oh, you really have to have a Norwell agent in order to sell in Norwell. P.S. That's wrong. And that is also a violation of our code of ethics. Knock, knock. You know who you are.
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock. You know who you are.
Remember how we've always said, like, we talk about things that happened in our real world on the show? Here we go. Back to the listing agent's responsibility. So
I just don't think it's necessary to play dirty. I just don't. You know what I mean? Here you go. Oh, you're going to get me fired up. This isn't, I'm sure of it. But, don't try to get a client away from another person by saying stupid stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff that isn't true. And don't take advantage of a person who is older and doesn't fully think your dumb comments are actually true.
Yeah.
Because you know as well as I know that is not true.
And they'll repeat your comments.
And they'll thing. So, yes. And again, you know who you are.
And you won't get the listing.
And no, it just irritates me because I just don't think as professionals, that's how we should be working.
Yeah.
Properties and people ask me, and maybe they're listed with another agent. They're, hiring other agents and they're interviewing people. I'm courteous of, we are not competition colleagues. Okay.
Yeah.
And we just wear a different color logo. Okay. That's how it should be. But for some reason or another, agents get into this desperado mode where they have to try to make the other person look bad in order to make themselves look good or give stupid comments like that.
Yeah.
To get a listing is disgusting. So shame on you. P.S. I am talking to somebody right now. So, but the thing is you know what? It's an appointment. Hey, I'm very complimentary. We have a lot of great agents in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a house isn't because of the agent. It just needs new life or like a defibrillator, get some new blood pumping through it, But, and not that the current agents are doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's just differently.
Yeah.
And hang your hat on that, not on trying to disparage somebody else in this industry. I've had it, folks, and I think you can tell.
I let the genie out of the bottle.
Yeah, and you can't get her back in.
Can't get her back in.
Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Are you too young for that?
No, I know. I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
I see your little thing.
Yeah, I hope we can with that today. Bum, 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 bum. I loved her.
I can't wiggle my nose like that.
Yeah, she was really pretty.
And then
I liked her little. I liked.
Yeah, her little home in the
Yeah,
in the
can we
bottle.
get that? Yeah. Bum, bum. Well,
bum,
if I was going to list it, I'd be like, I love all your pink.
Yeah. Okay, getting back into the listing agent's responsibility.
Yeah,
so
you really
again,
got me off track
I'm
there.
sorry, and I tried to bring it back.
I know
but
you tried.
You were like a wild horse out there.
I like the genie better.
Oh gosh! All right, you were like a genie.
Yeah.
So their responsibility is to provide guidance, not to make the decision. Like we said earlier in the show, when it comes to even the listing price, we're given a range. You ultimately have the decision of where you're going to land, hopefully within that range. And so when it comes to multiple offers, we can give you the facts. Okay, we can give you person doing, has a 9% value ratio. This person down, this person's putting 20% down. This person's asking for X, Y, and Z. That we can give you the facts from the offer.
Yeah.
It's ultimately a seller's decision where they go.
Mm-hmm.
We can't say, oh, you got to go with this one. This one right here.
Yeah, that's the one that we think.
That's
the fun game we play this is also likes to read love letters. I just, I fell in love once and I'm still in love. That's how far I go with the love letter.
Hey, I won with a love letter.
I know.
That's probably why I like
reading them. I save them.
Me.
I save them for the end. I tell my clients, hey, if you want to look at this, but we also have to worry about fair housing laws, and that's another story for another show. But yes, we can't say to them, that's why when I'm looking at things very systematically. But one of the things we do in the office, you'll say, okay, I have the one that I think is the best offer picked out, and then I'll do the same thing and I'll go through, the spreadsheet and say, all right, this is the one that I think would be the best one, and these are the reasons why. And I love that we have that dialogue together in the office before it actually preps me to help me with my clients,
Yeah.
because especially working with you over the years, you and both Marys tend to think very me, where Mary actually doesn't. You think more similarly to me. Mary always thinks of things as buyers. She's not listening right now. I can say whatever I want about Mary.
Yeah, well, that's why I brought her along to one of the houses that I looked at, because we would get out of the car like, wow, this is great. She's like, the chimney's falling off the house. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I was like, I see dead.
Like, should we even go in? She's like, if you want, but you're not buying it. I'm like,
Yeah. So, but that's the thing when we're teaming up like resales as we are right now. I see it one way, she sees it as another
Yeah.
way, And even last night was a really, really good idea, a good indication of how that works. The offer that she thought that, hey, just accept this. This is a really good offer. Let's just go forward. In me as a listing agent, I was like, I just feel there was an agent who I reached out to, said their client was interested. I just feel obligated to reach back to her. We've worked with her in the past. That's called playing nicely in the sandbox. And I said, and I just think more like there's like we have to compare it to something, just don't go with the first one. And ultimately we were able to get another offer in late last night. Actually, I had dinner plans with my niece and her husband. Well, he's my nephew, whatever. And so Mary sort of took over from there. But by the time we finished, it was all sort of settled out. And it really did, even though the second offer came in was more money, the terms and condition didn't work for my seller. And as I'm looking through the folder of so in the past 2 weeks, we've had three houses with multiple offers on them. And you can see this one that I have on it, and it has like a big red X on it. And this one was the highest offer as well.
Yeah.
So this is what I want buyers to know. Your offer necessarily doesn't have to be the highest, but it should most certainly be the cleanest.
yes.
And the reason why, now I really liked this offer. I know the agent who was the buyer's agent on this, does a really good job, really thorough. Had multiple conversations with her regarding the offer, her clients and all that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, her client had a house to sell. And my clients didn't want to wait for that.
Yeah.
That was a $25,000 concession for them.
Yeah.
The money wasn't as important as not having a house to sell. The other part of this is, they didn't even have the house on the market yet.
Yeah.
And it wasn't of the fault of the buyer's agent. I want to state that clearly. Like, she really did have everything lined up. The photos were ready. She just had to click go and just asking for some time to get the house under agreement. But again, my clients are fast forwarding, saying, okay, we're already out of the house. We already know where we're going.
Yeah.
We're already there. We don't see now we're 2 weeks behind.
I mean, what's most important, and if waiting for it was just not in the cards for that, willing to make that condition. But that conversation that you had with that agent, hopefully they turned around and with why the offer was not accepted. And it was ultimately because they did have it on the market. And, it's weird. I get it. It's scary to be in the market where you're going. But ultimately, sellers are making these decisions based on where you're at in your process too.
100%. And, that's the other thing too, is when you have, people will always say, "I've had this show, we haven't in a while is like what came first, chicken, like my house on the market, and then try to find a house and then put my house on the market. And there are definitely different ways of doing that and approaching it. I have to tell you, I think if buyers are out there looking at houses and it's really difficult for them to get a house as it is, I think that, if you're saying, hey, this is contingent upon me finding suitable housing, well, if the inventory is really low, they get the offer accepted. They may be willing to wait. They may be in a situation where they're living with a family or they're renting and they have their tenant at will, that they may have the time and the opportunity to wait for you to find something. But there's also another group of buyers who might be out there saying, all right, well, there's other inventory that I could get in the same area. Why don't I just go towards one of those rather than wait? Because I see how difficult it is for people to find another house.
Yeah.
Because the inventory is really low. And then there's the pros and cons. Is it going to make you a stronger buyer if you go and say, I'm already under agreement? But that didn't help in the case of yesterday we actually almost had 3 offers. And I did have a conversation with my client, so I didn't bypass them knowing this. But the people came to the open house. Yesterday while Mary and I were there. She wanted to come back with her husband. I was talking to them last night. And this is one of the things I truly love, being in this so long. I worked with this agent. She's a great agent with her when I was in Duxbury. And great conversation, up all kids great, which is nice to catch up. But went back. I said, listen, I have a deadline tonight of PM because they really do want to try to stop the open house. I was I'm going to be honest with you. I did talk to them about your client and there's a possibility, and the home sale contingency is probably going to be really tough, even though their house is already under agreement. Remember, my clients are already there going. They don't want to they could put confidence in the state agent. The thing is going to stay together, but why take the risk when you have something better in hand?
Yeah.
Or something you're willing to take.
Definitely there is sort of this common fact that, definitely, affects everybody involved in that situation. So it also affects the people who have an accepted offer on that buyer's listing. So that buyer is also, they are trying to get something under agreement to purchase. So because their offer wasn't accepted, it also, sort of affects the timeline of selling their house with their buyer. So hopefully their buyer will, stay strong and stick with them.
But anybody can lose a job at any point.
Absolutely.
And that's a risk that you're sort of taking. That's what I say to my clients is, this seems like an ironclad situation, but anything could happen at any time. Who knows? You know what I mean? Are you kidding me that that's what time it is right now?
Yeah. We have 10 minutes left.
Wow.
I don't kid about these things.
You're funny. Wow, that went by fast. So some of my Sharon Smart Moves top tips from the show too, like the highest offer is not always the best, which we've discussed. Buyers need to know their walkaway number before emotions take over. I think that's really smart, right? So we're sort of switching back and forth. I know I have something different up on my screen than you. Sellers should review the full offer package we discussed. Inspection language matters, especially in Massachusetts. Buyers have rights. Sellers need to be careful, and agents need to communicate clearly. Compensation requests are now part of the broader offer conversation, and multiple offers require strategy. Let me talk to you about this compensation request, and I am jumping around a little bit, but in multiple offer situations, but this is something different is, as a seller, we'll talk about that as another time. Things that sellers can do to make their house look more appealing if they're having a difficult time selling it, which we're not really seeing. But I was just thinking, remember the one we read the other day, and it was like a year HOA.
Oh, yes.
It has nothing to do with this topic, though, so I'm just going to skip over that for now.
What word is escaping? Not a contingency, but a incentive.
Incentive, yeah.
There you go. What incentives sellers can provide?
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, just breaking down the key offer points. I know you talked about the inspection contingency. We did a few shows on that. Mortgage contingency, everyone knows sort of what that is. The offer depends on buyer securing financing. So, that includes a loan amount,
Yeah.
a commitment date,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a date that you have to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and again, this is all negotiable too, whether it's going to be in the offer. So he's signed sort of more contract than an offer, and it goes back and forth between attorneys and things like that.
So common seller mistakes in multiple offer situations, like automatically choosing the highest offer. So if you're a seller, don't automatically do that. And I have 2 clients currently now that made a decision based accepted lower offers based on contingencies and terms being more important to them. Okay. So don't just automatically choose the highest offer. And in some instances, what's most important. And maybe you have time to, or you don't see the risk. That's fine. You can choose for you.
Well, it's also choosing the highest price without strongest terms.
Yeah.
So also look at those terms. And then common mistakes that do, during multiple offer situations, for extending financially, waiving actions without understanding the risk of that. So it's very important for to explain these contingencies and what it means to waive them, what the risk is to waive these contingencies.
Like losing it. So we're sort of going back and forth between seller buyer mistakes, but another one is ignoring the financial strength and the financing strength. That's really important. And that was one of the deciding factors last night, to be quite honest. It was more money by significant amount. Can't discuss numbers right now because we're still in process with that, but significant. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say significant amount more. But the problem is the buyer's loan to value was very high. And Mary did a great job as always. And she actually called the loan officer last night after 8:00 and, had a discussion with him. And we've worked with him in the past, and he's a great loan officer, and we adore him. So she called him and said, what can you tell me about this? And he's like, I really can't, obviously give financial details about his client and everything, but this is the way that they wanted to set it up. And she asked, like, well, can they put more money down to make their loan to value lower? They just don't want to, right? Okay, can we put in an appraisal gap? If they had just appraisal gap, they were willing, because now their loan to value is very high.
Yeah.
The only person, why should my take the risk that this isn't going to appraise and this is potentially going to fall apart? Now, could things fall apart because of an appraisal? Well, we know in circumstances it could, but it's also a good escape route for somebody who maybe their mind or another offer comes on and they decide they like something else. I don't want that avenue to even be a consideration for my client.
Well, the listing agent has to sell a property twice. They have to sell it to a buyer, and then they have to sell it to an appraiser. And that is somebody who's representing that person being able to get a loan for that property. So if for some reason you can't make up the difference, why should somebody take a risk on you?
And you know what? Their offer was phenomenal when it comes to price. It was amazing. And it was exciting to my sellers as well, but the risk just wasn't overshadowing.
Well, kudos to you, Mary, and your sellers for understanding that, the value just might not be there. We understand that is an emotional value that somebody has put on, but it comes down to being able to finance it. It just might not be there.
Exactly. And maybe they would, like, if it came to the appraisal, like, okay, are we going to have to lower the price, or are they going to walk away? If they had just put in there that they were willing to take that. Hey, when we range of what I'm seeing with other comps, similar homes, right? I know, and it's my responsibility to make sure that house will appraise for that amount.
Yeah.
You decide, and I'm just using round numbers. This has nothing to do with any of my offers. If you decide to go 100,000, 125,000 over asking, you need to be sure that the financing is going to offset where appraise. Because I'm telling you, based on the comps I'm looking at, the house isn't appraising. Appraisers do use emotional value. Just because you're willing to pay that much for a house does not mean is willing to give you that money. I can't take the risk.
And even if you did get multiple offers, you know, as a listing agent, you got offers well over asking everything, that's fine and dandy. And you can put a number on it. Like, you can't go to the appraiser and say, I have, 10 offers that are, he'd be like, okay, but what has sold? I can't,
exactly.
I could have put in an offer for $1 million on this property. Like, it doesn't matter.
Do you remember back in the days of COVID, and that's what people were doing? People were like, we'll just put some astronomical in the offer and it's not going to appraise. So then they'll have to come down on the price.
Or they'll negotiate after home inspection and
listen,
bring it
I know that game.
We know the game.
We know the game. Yeah. So don't overlook the appraisal risk. Don't review. You have to review buyers' timelines very carefully. We want to make sure, especially when I have clients that are moving to another property, I have to keep all of that time in, be aware of that as well. And then letting emotions override the strategy and not understanding the net pros. What really is that after compensation? You do not have to pay a buyer's agent, but the buyer's agents are probably asking for you to pay them. All those different things that we're asking, but we'll do this was a good one. We'll do a follow-up to this, but I guess final words would be,
I also just want to touch upon best and final. You can go back to multiple people. You can go back to 2 best and final, everything. So just be prepared. If you're not putting your best foot forward, let somebody know, hey, please let me know if you're asking for best and final, because they might not come back.
And that's the thing. So you are listening and you are planning on going to 52 Parkway in Marshfield tomorrow to visit me at my open house. We did cancel that. I don't want to give anybody false anything that house is not available anymore. And I love that he is actually playing this right now. So yes, but if you have any questions about your home or this market or any of these topics in real estate, feel free to give me a call, 781-294-4848. You can go to bostonconnect.com and find all of our wonderful agents here at Boston Connect. And we will leave with that. And I'm those for all of you right now. So have a great day. Bye, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Brings back memories. Used to be my favorite show. Well, because